the cockwomblery, all of those things. But mostly, we're here to talk about what's been happening this week and stuff. Stephen, you've had an issue with something that's been going on around the cholesterol reporting, I hear.
Yes. Well, you know, LDL isn't cholesterol. Let's start with that. It's a low density lipoprotein. Sean Baker was talking about a study, and it was about 2 days ago. And what the study showed essentially was that in this cohort, this high level of LDL, which we'll call LDL cholesterol because that's the parlance of these people. If you had high levels of LDL cholesterol, it didn't seem to cause plaques as much as those with the lower levels.
Shock me.
And well, yes, yeah. well, that's me. Yes, as well. I'm like, well, okay, so that's some evidence. That's a study. So poor old Sean's then had to do a sort of, as expected, the hatred is swift video on YouTube, which I do recommend you check out because the backlash has been incredible. Now, this is experimental science, and they've thrown absolutely everything at this study, which did everything in its power to be impartial, a proper study, basically, like we were always talking about. And the authors have been contacted, I think, by David Diamond about the study, and the authors still think that LDL is causal, which straight away you have an issue with because that can't be proved. And then you've got the confounders as well. But also, there's a lot of mudslinging going on. You know, that the authors are too unintelligent to actually interpret their own data. Because it goes against the narrative, basically. And I think it's very frustrating that when you get a study and it shows something that isn't in the narrative's best interest, rather than think of the health of the people, they just think of the profits in the back of the pharmaceutical companies. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. So it's just frustrating. And for me, I get this, in everyday life with clients saying, I've lost, what did I have the last client I coached? I've lost 44 pounds. My blood pressure's down. I'm off my diabetic meds. People get bored of me saying this, I'm sure of it. But I went to my doctor and he said, "What are you doing? You look amazing." Well, I'm from carnivore. Oh, well, that's going to kill you. It's just ignoring the evidence is frustrating beyond belief. And I think that's why, we get on so well, because it definitely annoys you slightly.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We express that in different ways at different times, of course. But yes, I find that infuriating to the nth degree. So I do. And Ted, well, you should have heard the invective from him.
Well, that brings me, can I just
please
mention something which you might not know? Because Jane tried the collagen, seeing the benefits of the stem enhance. She tried the collagen, and she woke up and she said, I've got no pains in my hands. I've had these pains for months. And the only thing we could think of was the collagen was making a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, she's very fit and doing really well. And she does pole fit. So she uses her hands a lot. And, she does Pilates classes, maybe 10 of them a week.
Yeah. I'm just saying, leave that one alone, Ted. Leave it alone.
And so that was pretty interesting for me, because maybe collagen supplementation has gone under the radar a little bit for me. And I think that's because you can tend to get most things from meat and fish and eggs. But I think possibly, there are people that can benefit from it. Well, definitely Jane was one, because the hand pain we just thought was down, we thought it was down to the pole fit, doing that every week for many, many years. You need a lot of grip strength. Don't get too cheeky about that word there, the grip strength. But anyway, so though I would just say it's worked out really well. I'm very impressed with it.
Good.
So I now have 2 things that we've tried that we've been really impressed with. The stem enhance, obviously, I think there's been, because I did my experiment with it, and I can't see anything else would have caused that sudden change for Jane.
Yeah.
More than likely, if anything, if she hadn't done the collagen, I think the pain slightly gets worse during the winter months. So everything was stacked against her, rather than these pharmaceutical studies where they sort of load the chips. This was easy. You know, she just took it and it got better. So I'm very impressed with it.
Good. You wouldn't be the only one, of course. I mean, I could point you to person after person after person who was doing quite well on Stem Enhance alone, was doing quite well, added in the collagen active, and something magical, something synergistic, something je ne sais quoi occurs. And it all just meshes together and marvelous things occur, none of which we can claim occur or state will occur, because that's against the rules.
Absolutely. But, you know, these personal experiences, well, it's going back to that study, you know, if there are hundreds of people showing something, that's data, isn't it? I mean, that is data. And if in a experimental setting, you know, interventional.
It's as good as the data that any of the vegans have got on any of their ridiculous arguments. It's as good as the data that they are saying absolutely proves that LDL is causal in heart disease. I mean, a lot of people say anecdotes are not data. Well, data is just a series of anecdotes collected under some kind of discipline. So I think it's
Well, it's the thing about plagiarism. When I did my honours degree, you know, the joke was, what is plagiarism? Well, plagiarism is quoting one paper, research is quoting 20. You know, it's just the way you look at it. And I think the same with anecdotes. One anecdote, yeah, that's an N equals 1. Yeah, that might be a freaky occurrence where someone is eating just ribeyes and they've become huge and reversed. Well, I've had this. I mean, they've gone from dialysis to perfectly functioning. So you get it 500 times, it starts to be a signal, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And if you get it 1,000 times, you get it 10,000 times. So what I'm doing there is thinking of different influencers or different coaches. I mean, my operation, tiny little thing, you know, I'm in the UK, hardly anyone knows me. And I've got over, 500 clients easily in the last 5 years. And I've done 120 success videos. Well, that's pretty phenomenal data. But they're all anecdotes. They are all anecdotes, but they're all backed up by, real experience, photos, actual images, DEXA scans, CT scans. It's just, it's incredible that people still want to deny that this is a good thing to do for many people. Absolutely. Because the data is there, definitely out there.
Cool. Yep. I have been saying for a long time that the carnivore diet is absolutely the biggest part of the challenge for people's health. Get that right, things will be pretty good. But you just need a few other tweaks, I think, in today's world. And that's why I've got that video where I've got the 5 life hacks that starts off with carnivore first and foremost, absolutely. Cereal products second, grounding third, etc., down that list of those 5 things. And they're in that list in that order because I really genuinely believe that's the importance of the input of those things on someone's diet. So even if you're doing the top 2, that's going to be
creating the right environment, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing. If you've got a gymnasium and you're going to work out and you say, right, okay, I only want to do 8 exercises, then you do the 8 exercises that seem to be most effective, like deadlifting and squatting and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But that will get you so far. And then you get into nuance, don't you? And then you get, wow, we're going to start doing some isolation, or we're going to have to get a machine in to do hamstrings. And, and it's just, you give yourself the right environment, you can thrive. And that's one of the things about this way of eating. But I love the sort of, when I'm doing my success story interviews, things come out and I just think, oh, that's a good little benefit that I've never even considered. And the most recent one, she said, my kitchen utensils, I need hardly any utensils. And cleaning up is an absolute joy. And that's one of the things, and I think the big corporation like McDonald's have found this to their cost. When they went from tallow to seed oil, they then had to employ industrial cleaners to come in and clean their cookers. Whereas when they used tallow, it was a really easy clean. And I think I find that in my own kitchen.
Yeah.
If I use butter, if I use tallow, it's really easy to clean the pots. Don't need lots of utensils, don't need lots of fancy food processors and all that sort of stuff. It's so simple. It is so simple. That it's got benefits one way and the other. It's got the health benefits, but it's also got like the life benefits. Shopping's easier. It's just easier to do. I just want to mention another thing. I mean, I relented after 5 years of coaching. I produced a meal plan. So many people say to me, can I have a meal plan, please? It's like, yeah, you don't really need it. You don't really need it. But they're so indoctrinated, and I use that word deliberately, to believe that they need to know what to do on Monday for breakfast, lunch, snacks, dinner, or whatever. I did one.
Yeah. Okay.
Am I boring you? Sorry.
No, I'm like, oh God, meal plans. Oh God. Yeah.
So I did it, and I just thought, but in the end, after about 7 days, they will go, well, I don't really need this, do I? No, you don't, because it's simple. So simple.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you could never bore me, Stephen. You're one of the most interesting people I know, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So where do we go from there? What's the next line of whatever? I guess you should tell people where they can find Cyril.
Well, yes, you're going to put my website in the description, aren't you?
Done. And I'll also put it on the screen so that people can see what it is.
Online page.
Yeah.
No, I just think at the end of the year, you look back. I mean, we're in December now, just for people that are watching next May. December 2023, and there are certain things that seem blatantly obvious, and maybe we skim over the basic stuff. I mean, I've been dealing with people with diabetes for over a decade, and still people say to me, when I start talking about carbohydrates, blood glucose, they're like, well, I don't eat any sugar. And I say, okay, what do you eat? And I'm going to go real basic again here, but they'll say, well, I have my bread. I just have some toast. I might have some cereal. And by the end of it, I say, well, every single thing you just said pretty much is a carbohydrate, and carbohydrate is a sugar. And they really don't know.
Yeah.
They really don't know it.
The thing is, how does this work? Well, it works, number one, because people are immensely stupid on average, Stephen, aren't they? Let's be honest. People are, on average, immensely stupid. People that follow...
Sadly, yes.
Yeah, people that follow our channel, obviously not so. They're the ones that have got it together. We are the intelligentsia. We are the science. Trust us. Yes, safe and effective is our science. Absolutely effective and safe it is. All soldiers will line up for their treatments, which are effective and safe. Good. So there's that. People are, not highly educated or intelligent on average. For example, the average IQ is 100, I think.
Is it really?
Yeah. That's how they set the scale. An average person has an IQ of 100. And then, you have to, for example, to join the military, you have to have an IQ of 80 or above.
Right.
Because even they understand that there's a limit to how stupid you can be before you actually aren't going to be useful, sort of thing. So that's frightening that people can be so easily misled on such a wide number of topics, shall we say, including the ones that we don't talk about over an extended period of time over the last few years in particular, for example. And it's a propaganda activity. It's definitely an entrenchment of a belief structure upon people that no one dares question, and if they do, they are banned from speaking ever. No talking for you.
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously we know what you're talking about. Yeah. I would have said 5 years ago, I would have argued, no, people aren't that stupid. But I think the last 3 years, since March 2020, I'm going to actually put a little bit of a curveball in. I also think it shows an unbelievably blind trust in authority.
Yes.
That makes them, even if they question it, they then find it hard to believe. And I think that's a big thing that I've had in conversations. Well, they wouldn't do that. Yeah. Surely they wouldn't do that. Surely they didn't know that these things what going on behind the scenes.
Mm.
And it's that blind trust, and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Because
sorry, go on, Stephen.
Yeah, well, I mentioned like Bill Gates and say, one of the most despicable humans on the planet. And they say, oh, no, he's doing all these good things. And I say, yeah, okay, well, there's a video of him saying that for every dollar he's invested in a pharmaceutical, he makes 20. Oh, no, he's not in it for the money. He's a philanthropist. I said, no, that's possibly the one word he isn't. He's in it for the money. He is in it for the money. And he's on video. Now, the thing is, I actually shared that on Instagram, the video of him physically there saying that.
Yeah.
I've invested $1 and I've made 20.
Yep.
Well, that was flagged up for breaking community guidelines. Well, that's because the advertisers and all these big companies are getting donations from that area. What are you looking at now? What's caught your eye now?
I'm just going like, what? This is the overacting it, Stephen.
Oh, right.
Oh, that's incredible. But this kind of thing is not actually limited to stupid people. I mean, to circle back to our original starting point, even members of the so-called academic intelligentsia are doing the same thing. I mean, they produce a study where they collect data that says, sure, it's an association and that's all we've got here, but it seems like higher LDL cholesterol is associated with less events of heart disease. That's a head scratcher, they say, because we all know that LDL causes heart disease. Well, hang on a minute. A scientist holds an opinion only so long as the data doesn't that word is getting late, Stephen. And yeah. I go crazy when I miss a night's sleep, and I'll tell you what, sleeping on an airplane just doesn't happen. However much you think you're going to, no, you're not. Really.
Yeah, it's difficult to sleep on a plane. But yes, I liked where you were going. And that's the thing. When you've got a study and you're scratching your head because it doesn't give you the result that you want, maybe you should stop scratching your head about that and think, maybe what I was thinking was wrong, and this has proved me wrong.
There you go.
So simple.
My construct, my model is wrong. Here is the evidence. As a scientist, I am now required to reject that construct. No.
Well, that's the whole point, isn't it? I mean, that's what you're taught from day one. Yeah. You go out to disprove. And if you can't disprove it, then that's strong evidence, isn't it? It's like, oh, wow, I've got this theory, but I'm going to now try and prove that that's wrong. That's it in a nutshell, isn't it? And you don't go to try and prove that it's right. You want it to prove that you're right, but you think, all right, I've got to make this robust.
Absolutely.
It just isn't. And I know you talk about cigarette smoking and the difference in the sort of stats there. Still didn't say it was causal, but it was pretty powerful numbers, wasn't it? The statistics were significant. Whereas everything they're talking about here, it's just enough to say, right, okay, causal is too strong a statement. We've got to rethink this. And when there's so many people prove the opposite, then you have got to say, well, maybe I was wrong. And that's, I think, what's good about the carnivore community, low carb and keto, actually. Most have come from an indoctrinated sort of, I won't touch fat, I will be calorie restricted and I will lose weight, and deliberately sounding like an automaton, because I was one of those. I can remember flicking through Muscle and Fitness and seeing the guys there trying a high fat diet and dismissing it straight away in my 20s, like, well, that won't work. How can high fat be helpful? Because I was so heavily indoctrinated. But at least, I got to 49 and I thought, oh, everything I've been told was complete BS. And then when March 2020 came along, I couldn't believe how much I'd been lied to about everything. That's the frightening thing. I mean, it's just incredible, but it makes me question absolutely everything I see. I mean, I don't watch mainstream TV anymore because whenever I see it, for instance, in the gym, it's like a parody. It's because you know it's all fake. Pretty much everything is fake. You know, it's the trusted news initiative writing the script for every single news outlet. But maybe this is not good enough for YouTube. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about this, but there you go. So I think that study proves it, that there's people in academia who just have to defend their position, even if the evidence is contrary to what they're saying. Very frustrating. And when you're doing your takedown videos, and I mean, virtually every single vegan looks atrocious. I tell you what, I want to ask you a question.
Yes, please.
So why have you got a health science channel and a meat militia channel? And have you got any other channels?
Yes. Okay. The health science channel, this main channel, is the main channel by virtue of it was the first channel that I set up. It's had a name change along its lifetime. It used to be Bart K Nutrition Science Watchdog. And then, so it's now called the main channel because it's the biggest one. And this is the one where I post who's wrong on the interwebs. I post interviews on there as well. We talk about the 5 health hacks. We talk about why cerule is a great thing and everyone in the world should be on it. We do those kind of things. We have a meat militia channel, which has some of the more non-scientific or humorous-based, more character acting, like I'm doing this evening with deciding to do the Field Marshal this evening just for fun. It's always the Field Marshal over there pretty much because it's the Meat Militia channel. And that's, I don't do a lot there because, to be honest with you, it doesn't have huge subscriber count. It's not monetized. So I would post on there once or twice a year if you're lucky. But I also like to promote it all the time on all my videos by going, the Meat Militia exists. It's a real channel. You could actually go there and, you know, maybe if enough of you go there and subscribe to that, I might actually put more effort into it and put more stuff up there. Tended like that, wouldn't you? No, he's not having it. I also have a third channel, which is called Professor Bart K Nutrition Channel or something like that. That's the one where it's pretty much all collar and tie, professorial, no swearing, no comedy, no humor of any kind, just information, folks. For those folks that just want information, there you go. I cater for you in that one as well. By the way, all these channels are linked under every single one of my channels on my main channel. So wherever you see my main channel, all my other YouTube channels are listed underneath every video in the show notes. So you can just go and click on them, by the way. So that's that one, collar and tie, professorial, no naughty words, no humor, just the facts. I've got a fourth channel, which is called It's Round Like.
I wonder what that is.
Well, I got so sick of cretinous cockwombles coming on my channel telling me the fucking earth is flat. So I made a channel on what isn't and taking the piss out of people. It's another who's wrong on the interwebs type channel. I haven't been active on that channel for about a year because, again, it didn't really get the traction I wanted. And I had to concentrate on that, which does get traction, which I can actually make a living out of. So that's also just sitting there pretty much. But there's some great videos there on that channel. There's some awesome stuff, including a couple of videos about a bloke from somewhere near Glasgow called Dell, who comes on and is thick, almost incomprehensible Glaswegian and tells us why the Earth's flat and stuff. And it's just absolutely hilarious. You think the nutritionists are, the vegan nutritionists are hilarious? This guy is worth a listen. So you could go and check that out if you wanted to. I have another channel after that as well, which is called New Zealand Nature, I think, which is just various shots of pretty stuff around the country, which again, nobody watches.